Welcome to the Vintage Hollywood Archive. The Oscar-winning actress Anne Bancroft, who immortalized the role of the graduate seducing Mrs. Robinson on the big screen. To the world, she was one of the great stage and screen actresses of her generation with astounding range. Why was Anne Bancroft both blessed and cursed? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you're new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Vintage Hollywood Archive channel. Anne Bancroft's legendary career and love. How Anne Bancroft and Mel Brooks kept the spark alive. American actress Anne Bancroft had an extraordinary career that spanned over 5 decades, garnered 1 Oscar, 2 Tonys, and 2 Emmy Awards, and earned the respect of millions. Her roster of memorable characters ranged from the heroic Annie Sullivan to the predatory Mrs. Robinson to the larger-than-life Golda Meir. No matter what the role, Bancroft made it her own. While some actors were lucky enough to find one role for which they would always be remembered, actress Anne Bancroft was both blessed and cursed for her turn as the icily seductive Mrs. Robinson in Mike Nichols' The Graduate. Bancroft's legendary career spanned some 6 decades and encompassed parts as varied as Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir in the Broadway production of Golda, as well as the sight-impaired teacher of Helen Keller, Annie Sullivan in The Miracle Worker, the latter of which earned her both an Oscar and a Tony Award. Bancroft also turned in multi-nominated performances in The Turning Point, Agnes of God, and Neil Simon's Broadway Bound, all of which underscored an exemplary career unlikely to ever again be duplicated. In fact, Bancroft was that rarest of performers who managed to earn her profession's triple crown, winning an Oscar, a Tony, and an Emmy. Bancroft undeniably fashioned an envious array of performances. Unlike many in showbiz, she also managed to find the love of her life in the form of comedy writer and director Mel Brooks, whom she married in 1964 and remained close to up until her death in 2005. Anne Bancroft was one of the most loved and respected theater and film actresses. Beautiful, intelligent, and talented, she was the kind of woman every female envies. She was the perfect combination of beauty and brains. Anne Bancroft embodied 2 qualities that were nowhere near as diametrically opposed as they seem at first glance. The sensuality of a beautiful woman used to commanding any room she entered, and the 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat capacity for range of someone born Anna Marie Louise Italiano in the Bronx. Bancroft was born on September 17, 1931 in the Bronx borough of New York City to Italian immigrant parents. Her mother, Mildred, was a telephone operator, and her father, Michael, a pattern maker. The urge to perform was apparent in her even as a toddler. Tom Valance of the London Independent quoted Bancroft as saying, "When I was 2, I could sing Under a Blanket of Blue. I was so willing, so wanting, nobody had to coax me." But encouragement, especially from her mother, she did get. Even the Great Depression and her father's unemployment in the late 30s did not stop the family from finding a way to provide the aspiring entertainer with tap dancing lessons. She was brought up as a Roman Catholic. Bancroft graduated from Christopher Columbus High School in the Bronx in 1948. She fell in love with acting as a young girl and resolved to make it big as an actress. She clearly charted out her career goals and attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. She had the good fortune of studying under the eminent acting coach Lee Strasberg, which helped her develop her acting techniques and refine her inherent skills. She adopted the screen name Anne Marno when she was started doing television shows. Soon, she made the transition to films and was again asked to change her screen name. As Anne Bancroft, she acted in numerous films. Along with her film career, she was also actively involved in theater and has won numerous accolades for her stage performances too. Signed by 20th Century Fox in 1952, she made her screen debut in Roy Baker's gripping psychological thriller Don't Bother to Knock, notable for giving Marilyn Monroe her first major dramatic role as a disturbed young girl hired as a babysitter. The action took place in a large New York hotel, and Bancroft played a singer in the hotel's lounge and sweetheart of the hero Richard Widmark. Though she sang several songs, all from past Fox films, her performance seemed wan compared to those of Monroe and Widmark. It was the first of 15 films in which she mainly played secondary roles. Disillusioned by her stalled career and a failed marriage to building contractor Martin May, Bancroft decided to regroup. Life was a shambles. I was terribly immature. I was going steadily downhill in terms of self-respect and dignity. So, Bancroft made the sensible choice of so many before her and thousands yet to come. She went home. Finally, she returned to New York in 1955, living back at home with her family and looking for television work. She also began a more intensive study of her craft under the guidance of Herbert Berghoff, a renowned workshop teacher. She began to take acting classes with famed Viennese actor-director whose eminent HB studio should not be confused with the Actors Studio, although both are located in New York City. It was the beginning of a whole new approach to acting, a deeper, more fulfilling, and more thinking approach. I learned to think a little, to set certain tasks for myself. My work became much more exciting. Her career became much more exciting as well. My goal was simply to be a movie star. I had no idea what to be an actress meant. It was just to be famous and popular and powerful and rich. A favorable recommendation from a fellow actor helped her land an audition for a new Broadway play, but its playwright and producer were reluctant to even see her because of her lack of stage experience. As the play's author later remembered, Bancroft was a dark, quick, not pretty, but vitally attractive girl with a sidewalk voice that greeted me instantly with, "How was the coast? Lousy, huh?" And my mind blinked. She could have walked off my pages, William Gibson said. Bancroft made her Broadway debut in Gibson's Two for the Seesaw, opposite Henry Fonda, in January of 1958. She next originated the role of Annie Sullivan, the determined teacher who taught a blind and deaf Helen Keller to speak, in another play by Gibson. Her lagging career was jump-started. The play cemented Bancroft's reputation. Duke recalled the moment in the production when Bancroft's character announced to Keller's parents that she had finally broken through to their daughter. She told Spindle, "The sound that she had in her voice at that moment transported every creature in the theater to the place where you find lost souls." Bancroft went on to make a number of well-received films over the next few years, but it was her appearance in The Graduate that forever slotted her in the public eye. The woman who seduces the son of her husband's law partner. Her target is Benjamin Braddock, played by an unknown Dustin Hoffman, a recent college graduate whose ineptness with the opposite sex provides much of the movie's early humor. The plot takes a darker turn when Benjamin is set up on a date with Elaine, the Robinsons' daughter. Bancroft's performance, wrote Mark Harris in Entertainment Weekly, proved to be, quote, one of those acting moments that is simply a permanent part of the fabric of American movies. With a voice that sounded like a liquor cabinet filtered through a cigarette holder and a stone-cold seduction technique that was all business and half bored to tears, Bancroft turned Mrs. Robinson, the matron who made mincemeat of Dustin Hoffman, into an alluring and fearsome comic creation. The focus on that role in an acting career that spanned 50 years of work in film, television, and the theater frustrated Bancroft. She told an interviewer in 2003, "I am quite surprised that, with all my work, and some of it is very, very good, that nobody talks about the miracle worker. We're talking about Mrs. Robinson. I understand the world. I'm just a little dismayed that people aren't beyond it yet." The formerly frustrated actress had both conquered Broadway and returned to Hollywood as a star. As a newly respectful Hollywood beckoned, Bancroft appeared determined to tackle it on her own terms. Independence, intelligence, and a fair amount of nonconformity with the star system seemed to dictate her subsequent career choices. This relative autonomy was likely partially fueled by her marriage to actor and director Mel Brooks in 1964. Many found the match an odd one. He was the fast-talking funny man from Brooklyn, and she was the cool beauty with more than a dash of class. Somehow, Anne Bancroft and Mel Brooks complemented each other perfectly, the yin to each other's yang. Anne Bancroft and Mel Brooks were complete opposites, but their love endured. He was her soulmate. When they met in 1961, Bancroft was already an acclaimed dramatic actress and intimidating to boot. Brooks spotted her while she was rehearsing a song and dance routine for the Perry Como show. A guy from way over, from the other side of the theater, said, "Hey, Anne Bancroft, I'm Mel Brooks," Bancroft recalled decades later. "In 2 years, no man had ever approached me with that kind of aggression, because I had just done the Broadway plays, Two for the Seesaw and The Miracle Worker, and people were very scared of me, especially men," she said. At the time, 35-year-old Brooks was a floundering comedy writer and husband to actress Florence Baum, with whom he had 3 children. Bancroft, then 30, had ended her first marriage to builder Martin May 4 years prior. "I was in love with him instantly, because, you see, he looked like my father and acted like my mother," Bancroft once said. But by the following year, Brooks' divorce from Baum was finalized, and Bancroft nabbed a Best Actress Oscar for her portrayal of Helen Keller's teacher in The Miracle Worker opposite Patty Duke. She famously couldn't attend the award ceremony in person because she was starring in Mother Courage and Her Children on Broadway at the time. Instead, Joan Crawford accepted the award on her behalf. The pair got married at New York City Hall on August 5, 1964. "I was a Catholic girl who had been divorced and living alone for a long time. My mother was so happy, she didn't even care if he was Mel Brooks, Jewish or whatnot," Bancroft said of her interfaith relationship. "She was just happy he was a man." Over the course of their 41-year union, which ended with her death from uterine cancer in 2005, they appeared in front of the camera together several times, including on Curb Your Enthusiasm opening night, and in 3 comedies Brooks directed: Silent Movie, To Be or Not to Be, and Dracula, Dead and Loving It. Bancroft starred in the Brooks-produced award-winning drama The Elephant Man in 1980. Brooks said that while making the movie, he and his wife would hang out for 24 hours. He continued with a touch of warm nostalgia. "How many people could stand their wives for 24 hours? I could cry now," he said. "She was easy. She was fun. I liked her so much. I couldn't get enough of her." Bancroft had echoed the sentiment years earlier. "He makes me laugh a lot. I get excited when I hear his key in the door. It's like, ooh, the party's going to start." They also collaborated on a child, their son Max, born in 1972. The director revealed the foundation for their long-lasting partnership. "Anne and I both grew up during the marriage," he said. "We both knew what was really important and what love meant and what doing for each other meant." Director Robert Allen Ackerman described the pair's relationship to Greg Kilday of The Hollywood Reporter as, quote, "one of the greatest show business love stories of all time. They were madly in love with each other, the most inseparable, devoted, loving couple I have ever known. He could make her laugh so hard. She thought he was the funniest man, and she was as funny as he was. She could keep up with him, and he never stopped feeling how beautiful and talented she was." End quote. Such a strong relationship, along with having a solid career of her own, was bound to give Bancroft a sense of security and keep her priorities in line. She appeared in 50 television shows in 2 years during the heyday of live television, later describing the work as the greatest school that one could go to. Her combination of brains, humor, frankness, and sense were unlike any other artist. Her beauty was constantly shifting with her roles, and because she was a consummate actress, she changed radically for every part. By 2005, Bancroft's remarkable career had spanned over 50 years. But failing health brought her run to an untimely end. Bancroft died of uterine cancer, aged 73, in 2005. Among her survivors was her husband of 40 years, Mel Brooks, and their son, Maximilian Brooks. When she died, the lights on Broadway theater marquees were all dimmed in her honor. Friends and fans all over the world mourned the passing of this indomitable spirit and superior talent. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here.